I'm going to be going live today with Tracy Mountford. Now, you may have heard the name, Tracy Mountford, but Tracy essentially was one of the first people in the aesthetics industry and set a clinic up probably 20 years ago, initially in Stoke Poges. Then she grew and developed a London centre. She's probably definitely one of the most successful aesthetic practitioners in the industry. She sold her 2 clinics last year and is now part of a bigger group, which is the private clinic group. So Tracy is an absolute expert in all things aesthetics. We're very lucky to have her on the show. So Tracy now. Hope she can meet us, but as I said, she's really super successful. Hi Tracy, how are you?
Hi Adrian, I'm fine. You look like you're, is that a rather large garden you've got, or is that the park?
No, that's my garden, that's my field.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, lovely.
It's a bit unruly, there's a lot of ivy everywhere.
Very nice indeed.
Anyway, Tracy, so how are you?
I'm very good, in a strange twilight world that we're all in. But, you know, as we said earlier, Adrian, when we chatted, it's, you know, it's an interesting time, and probably sometimes it's quite nice to have a bit of peace, a bit of brain peace, and have time to
Tracy, on the phone, you told me you were looking rubbish.
I'm not going to put my head down and show you my hair, all right? I'm just going to not do that. But if you saw me yesterday, I would have resembled something like Bridget Jones when she's in the car, where, you know, I look pretty bad. So I've got the straighteners out. Tried my best for you, Adrian, today.
Well, you're looking very good. Thank you very much, Tracy. So, Tracy, I've bigged you up a lot. I've said, you know, you're one of the most successful people in the industry. You know, and can you just tell me about your journey?
Yeah, I think I was lucky, actually, Adrian. Thank you for bigging me up. But I think in life, it's about timing, isn't it? And I think that the thing about when I came into the industry was it's timing. It was many years ago. You know, when I first started.
When roughly did you come into the market?
It gives my age away, but literally, well, it's not a secret, is it? But I literally picked up my first syringe of collagen in 1989. Mm-hmm. So, you know, 30 years plus. So it's a long time ago that
What made you do it? It wasn't that popular in those days.
No, it wasn't. And it certainly wasn't going to be a way of earning any kind of living. It was simply an interest. I was following a career in anaesthetics. I loved anaesthetics. But I had an operation that made me sort of have to take about 3 months of leave. Mm-hmm. And I was between jobs, as you know, we rotate. So it was between jobs, it was the right time. And I just got bored, and I started to research other things, reading journals as we do, and all kinds of things. And I thought, this sounds quite interesting. As an anaesthetist, I'm good in my hands. You know, we used to, as you know, putting main lines in, we used to putting, and I thought, oh, I'll do this as a bit of fun. It was more to fill boredom. And it just went on from there because, as you know, 30 years ago, we did surgery in the UK, but we certainly didn't do a lot of non-surgical stuff. No. So I just did a bit of collagen, a little bit of light skin peeling, and it grew from there. And as you know, toxin didn't come out until way later. Yeah,
it's relatively modern, isn't it?
Yeah, and in a way allowed us as those early adopters to learn our craft slowly. I think now with we have a great professional body of people who are doing non-surgical work, but of course they're accelerated through this process. We could take it a bit slower and learn our mistakes along the way, though, you know, we don't want to make too many of those.
Now, Tracy, we've got a question. It's from Dr. Adam Clinic. Do you perceive the industry to be growing still, or are we nearing the point of saturation?
That's a really good question. I think it's growing still, and we can see that. I think we are becoming a little bit saturated because we all know there's so many practices, so many clinics setting up. My feeling on this is no, I think there's a lot of growth to be had, but I'm a great believer in keep things simple, do things really well. I think sometimes it's too easy to adopt lots of technology, lots of things, make a huge offering, and sometimes that's almost too much. I only did that much later on in my professional career. The best way that I learnt my craft was with my hands, and that's the way I built up the practice. So I would keep things simple, keep your USP, never dilute that. And I think there's a lot.
But that's what you've done really well. So you set up your first clinic in Stoke Poges and then grew it.
Yes.
And then, you know, grew your new clinic in London.
Yeah.
Adopted Cool Sculpting really, really successfully. So tell us, describe how you grew.
Slowly. I mean, what I did was the flagship clinic is in Buckinghamshire and still is, and we grew very well there. And I used to literally go into London because, of course, we got more and more and more London patients. But I just rented rooms like a lot of doctors did.
Yeah.
But it became almost unworkable in the end because what happened was we were literally hiring a minibus once a week to put all the technology in, the thermage machines, the Clear and Brilliant machines, and actually take it to a rented room and offload it all. So it was literally after many, many years, I only really invested in renting rooms properly or renting a premises on a lease in London. And it took me a long time. I only really opened up a proper, what I call a proper room, only literally, you know, a few years back, 8 years ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
And what treatments do you are really successful for you? And what's your favourite machine, Tracy?
My favourite treatment is injectables. So I think still I go back to basics. I think the way we can get great results, particularly if we're trained well and we have a good visual, you know, we're very artistic because, as you know, Adrian, it's not just about knowing how to do something, and it's not just about being safe. Of course, those things are important. It's about being an artist. It's about having that visual. So actually, I would still say my favorite go-to treatment and for all my patients is injectables, filler, toxin, and then probably alongside that, of course, it's very hard to say because I think the technology supports the injectables. If we're talking about a face, I think the technology supports the injectables. So things like all therapy for skin tightening, fantastic, but you've got to have that underpinning with the fillers to give that scaffolding and support.
You would start at the bottom and work up.
Yeah, you've got to have everything working together, otherwise you won't get excellent results. So it's all about just enough, but not too much of anything, but actually integrate treatments to get balance. I think when you're actually just trying to use one or two things, you can get a very unbalanced look, a very odd look, very strange look, and that isn't what we're all after. Of course, I've only evolved into body contouring over the last 8 years, and that's where Cool Sculpting came into the practice and has been for our practice very successful. But again, I think that's because we were one of the early adopters, and we could gradually get techniques and ways we used it that were, you know, that we just adapted for ourselves.
Yes, you've got the multi-panel techniques, haven't you?
Yes, with multi-panel, and also I've got, you know, I'm lucky enough to have people in the clinic who probably are the most long-standing Cool Sculpting practitioners. So if there's not much they haven't treated, and if they don't treat it, it means that they shouldn't be treating it. Yeah.
Another question. So from Melissa Payex.
Hello, Melissa.
Oh, you know.
I do.
You've probably got a lot of friends on here. What would you recommend for a crepey neck? So a neck that's, you know, the skin's a little bit crepey, Tracy.
Well, I mean, hi, Melissa. You know, certainly as a go-to starter, it depends on the age, doesn't it, Adrian? And it depends on what the degree of laxity is. Because often I would start with non-surgical. Often I would start with something like all therapy combined with something, say, like Profilo to remodel and regenerate.
Just quickly tell us about alt therapy and Profilo, Tracy.
Well, all we're doing there is using a technology, which is the alt therapy, with an injectable treatment like Profilo, both of which remodel and stimulate new collagen formation at different levels and in different ways. And in that way, you get quite a nice stimulatory effect. You get much more healthy, elastic. The elasticity tends to be restored in the neck. Now, that's great. And of course, as you know, all therapy does give a degree of lift as well. That's what we use it for. That's all great and will work very well on someone who doesn't have significant laxity. Someone who, you know, there are certainly some people who do have to consider a surgical option, as you know. So our job is to be honest about that and evaluate whether a person is pre-surgery and actually could get a very good result with a non-surgical. I said the combination of all therapy, maybe with Profilo, to give a really nice remodeling. What you have to accept with any of those treatments is they take time. You know, that isn't there's a timeline, a few weeks up to a few months. But some patients will end up or will eventually need a surgical procedure. But what I was actually, you will know this too, Adrian, or you'll feel this sentiment. What patients seem to want nowadays is a surgical result,
from a
but with non-surgical downtime.
That's right.
So people tend to aspire to wanting that amazing surgical result, but they actually don't want to put up with very much downtime either. So so we're you know, that's what we are, both as surgeons and as non-surgical people. What we're trying to get is best result, but with minimal negative and or minimal downtime.
Yeah, so that's been a real trend over the last few years, isn't it, Tracy?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Something I was going to ask you. I know you are meticulous in your clinic, aren't you? The patient comes first.
Yeah, always. Patient comes first.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? How you stay so patient focused?
Well, I think it came again from having a clinic. Again, I was in Buckinghamshire, as you know, and the first clinic I had out in Buckinghamshire, I actually had 2 clinics. I moved to a bigger one. But when I first started, it was a little 2-roomed building that basically had been an old cricket pavilion, and I shared rooms there with a GP. And I think what it taught me was that because the premises weren't all flash and gorgeous and, you know, I had to just provide an incredibly good service. And we should anyway, but it made me be very, very focused on that customer service experience. And because I started off as a one-man band, it actually enabled me to interface with patients really well. So I think that patients still want that. I think they still want, and as you know, Adrian, when you grow and grow, it's sometimes difficult to maintain that real personal touch.
Yes.
But I think patients deserve that. I think that's whether someone is investing £1, £2, £20, 20,000, it doesn't matter. That's what they've come through the door for. They want a friendly face. They want somebody who is professional but friendly. And above all, they want someone who's honest. So I think that from the moment my staff answer the phones to, you know, going through and seeing a practitioner to the aftercare, that's what I would aspire to every day and hope that we can deliver that. You know how hard that can be sometimes. Because we get very busy. But for me, that's what it's about. So I think that every day the team are focused on trying to deliver that first-class customer service, but that's real, that's genuine.
I must say you've got a great team, to be fair. You know, they really are very professional and patient-focused. So
they are
done really well there.
Yeah, a great team. Great, and every good practice needs a great team.
And have you got any other messages? I know it's a slightly weird time at the moment.
Yeah, I think that we were talking again about this earlier, weren't we? We took a very conscious step when the COVID issue arose, and as it was obviously clear to us all that we were going to have to stop practice. Since we stopped on the 22nd of March, we stopped just before the government called it. But we took a very active step not to do anything overtly promotional or you know, any too much marketing. We felt it wasn't really reflecting the tone of the nation, really. And I think we then put out a questionnaire to all our patients saying, look, what do you want? Do you want to hear from us, or would you rather we just stay quiet for the moment? What do you want from us? And actually we got a really good response on a survey from that. And most patients came back and said, actually, we want to hear from you. We still want to get information. We still want to receive. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing virtual consultations. We just started to roll that out. And I think I'm going to be using it as a time to dispel myths. There's still so much, as you know, Adrian, so much muddled, confused information out there about treatments. In fact, if I was a consumer, I'd be the same. It's confusing enough for me as a
what's the main myth? If you had one myth you'd like to dispel, Tracy?
That if you have cosmetic treatment, it's always going to be obvious, and it's always going to, you're always going to be able to detect it.
Brilliant.
I don't think that's true.
And we're nearly up on time, so before we go, tell me what you're up to this afternoon.
Probably walking the dog. Probably, this is the first time I've had makeup on for 3 weeks. Probably walking the dog, speaking to the team. I've got a couple of things to talk to them about because, as I said, we're strategizing for the future. And maybe hopefully a little bit of time to do a bit of exercise later on. I've regrouped. I've just weights. So I don't do any, I'm a bit lazy. I don't do a lot of CB. I just do all strength. So I've got some weights and I've got a bench and I push some weights, but not a pretty sight when I do it, but I'm not very elegant.
I have a couple more questions. What sort of dog have you got, Tracy?
He's a cockapoo. He's three years old. He's a lovely doggy, and he's really good because we said the family were all at home, so we enjoy being with the dog.
And what's his name?
Finn. Finn the dog. He's a lovely dog.
And one more question, Tracy. I'm going to put you right on the spot. Tell us one surprising thing about you that people may not know.
I'm a really good ballroom dancer.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so I've got medals for my Latin American ballroom, balls, cha-cha-cha. That's my secret thing.
Oh, wow. Do you still do it, Tracy?
Well, it's a bit like bike riding, isn't it? Once you do it, you don't forget. So if someone challenged me to that, I probably would look very rusty, but I could certainly pick it up, quite
I look forward to seeing you in action, Tracy.
I'll get my glitter out.
Get your glitter out. Well, Tracy, thank you. We've got lots and lots of more questions. So perhaps we could do it again. We run out of time today, but perhaps we could do it again.
Okay, lovely to chat to you, Adrian, and thank you everybody that's tuned in, and thank you for supporting us in this, challenging time. But thank you.
Brilliant. See you later, Tracy. Lovely talking to you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.